Are you building the life and business you truly want? Or let me ask you, are you building somebody else's dreams? Or are you building something that you've been programmed to think that you want? Or you're merely trying to find that next step to keep your head above water. Maybe you have a business, it's cash flowing, but you don't know the next step. So, in this video, I want to talk about this because I see so many people build a life they later come to resent. They build a business they later come to resent. They have clients they come to resent. And ultimately, a lot of this comes down to not being truthful with yourself and getting on purpose, as I like to say, to where you know exactly where you're heading. And this is a common problem for business owners. They're trying to grow a business. They're not really sure why they're trying to grow their business because everybody says they should try to grow their business. And then they go out and they try to hire a coach for it. And there's so many coaches on the internet right now. There's so many coaches on YouTube. And a lot of them simply, rather than going for transformation or trying to find the most appropriate strategy, because that's what it's really about, is strategy and structures and systems. Most of them simply go for, how do I say this, personality transplantation. They simply say, well, you need to just do things like I do. You need to get up at the time that I do. You need to work out like I do. And the truth is, you need to do the things that you need to do that are appropriate for you. And it's easy to fall into these pitfalls when, unfortunately, if we don't have clarity about our life, if we don't have clarity about our direction, we know that we're in pain. We know that we're feeling frustrated. We know that our margin isn't where we want. We know that we've got employees that we're not satisfied with. We know that we're working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks and that we're going to reach a point where it's unsustainable. And yet, you know, it's so easy to fall in and say, well, if I just do these things, then I'll get this outcome. And the truth is, outcomes aren't created equally. You may get the outcome that somebody else has, but if you don't want what they have, then is it really the outcome that you should be going for? So outcomes are highly specific to your values, your beliefs, your desires, what you want. And most people are stuck in the pain cycle where they're merely trying to get out of pain, or they're merely trying to push through because they believe that's the thing to do without taking a step back, looking at the strategy for their life, truly looking at where they want to go and design a life they love. So you can probably see in the back here, like I've got beautiful trees. I live up in the mountains. My business is, totally online right now. I may start doing some in-person events here in the near future, but I've been able to build a life that works for me where I'm at, and I needed a little recharging period over the last few years. So I shut a lot of stuff down, and maybe I'll go back out there and push forward in a different way. But I had to get clear about what it is I really wanted, and that's the same thing with you on the other side of the camera. I'm speaking directly to you that if you've fallen into this cycle of merely pursuing things without clarity, without direction, and you think you know the right ways to do things. So I love this because people are looking over the last 40, 50 years, they're looking to try to figure out how they move into the next 5 or 10 years. And the truth is that the next 5 and 10 years is going to be very different than the last 50 years. So I've studied a lot of history, a lot of finance, a lot of monetary, where money comes from. And, America's at a certain point in its debt cycle, which that's a whole different thing, even having money that operates off of debt. But we're at this point where things are going to be very different than they were 80 years ago. Because they are these big cycles. And so in order to actually create that dream reality, in order to get out of the pain that you're constantly stuck in, then you have to ask, how do I meet the future? How do I show up here? And for most people, I say most, for a lot of people that I speak to that are having problems, one of the biggest issues is they don't actually know what they want or where they're going. They just want to get out of this immediate pain, which I totally can resonate with. If you need to make money, dude, like you got to go do something immediately to get out of that pain so that you can form a bigger future, so that you can create a different possibility for where you're at. And a lot of business owners they're looking and they know they need to make some moves. They know they need to do something different. They know they need some sort of transformation in their business. Something has to give, but they haven't had enough exposure. Even though, man, I talk to business owners who've been in business for 20, 30, 40 years even, and they still don't really know how to explain their value well. They don't really know how to leverage some of the other ways that they could increase the value, so they could increase their prices, so they could cut the customers they don't like. And it's really problematic. Like I was talking to a guy 2 weeks ago, and he's trying to get out of some franchise deals that he was in. And he was like, dude, it was just a ton of work, but we're just hoping to get out for what we were in for. And to me, I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like a very good trade-off. You work for, a number of years trying to build something up, but that's the nature of where so many people are at. And so many people are getting out of businesses. So many people are like, there's never been a better time. But in order to move forward, you have to actually know what you're moving towards. I mean, you can move, you can make changes, you can do these things, but you're just as likely to end up recreating the scenario that you're dissatisfied with in the first place. So I was talking with some other people a few weeks ago. And it was on a podcast, and they were they were asking how I go about things, and it was specifically with relationships. And in my past, I had these patterns running over and over and over again, and maybe you have those too. If you look back over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, if you've had these patterns running where you are absolutely certain you're going to do something different. Something's going to change this time. Now you're going to have better friends. You're going to attract the better people. You're going to do all of this stuff. And then you find that you're right back where you started. And for most people, they do something different, but something different oftentimes can lead back to the same place. Unfortunately, unless there's clarity, there's specificity, there are distinctions along that way about what's tolerable, what's not tolerable, what's acceptable or not acceptable. So anyways, guys, part of this video is just to give you permission to dream again, to hope again, to actually say, okay, I know that I can do something better. I feel something within me. I know that I can play a higher level. One of my favorite sayings is, there's so many level 4 people or level 10 people playing at a level 4. Sorry, guys, my voice here is struggling today, but ultimately that is the truth, that there's so many people, and rather than trying to fit yourself into somebody else's box or start a business that somebody else says, one of my favorite pushbacks is, so many people are fans of Robert Kiyosaki. I'm a huge fan, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which, by the way, Sharon Lechter wrote all those. I don't know if y'all know. He came to her with the ideas, but ultimately she did most of the stuff. But that's neither here nor there. But so many people have bought into this idea of like, oh, well, I'm going to go invest. I'm going to go, hop into the stock market. But dude, the richest people in the world don't do that. So why are you following strategies? Like, why are you following poor people's strategies if you don't want to be poor? Like, you shouldn't. You should do something different. And so a lot of people are looking towards his stuff. And again, tons of respect for him. He's built a great business, great stuff. He's helped tons of people. I just personally think that building a business is way better than trying to go invest in some of the things that he talks about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I have no idea what his current stuff is. But what I will say is that so many people, they read one book and they don't have enough exposure. They don't have enough exposure to realize what's possible, what they're capable of. And so they read one thing and they just, boom, they travel down that path, even though it may not be the best path for them. So I just want to encourage you, it's okay to dream again. It's okay to say, hey, I do want to add an extra 6 figures to my business. I do want to do these things, and I want to have employees that I love, and I want to, have beautiful things and a beautiful family and a beautiful life. And it's possible, man. It's totally possible. I don't know where you're at, but I can tell you, um, I was a male dancer in my 20s, and I've come out of that and I've built a great life, and it's only getting better, man. I'm only getting started in my mind. So if I can do something like that, there's so many other examples of people who've just come from absolutely nothing and built something. And it's so easy to get beat down and so easy to get dejected about where the world's at. But there's never been more possibilities. So guys, hope this video helps. Be great.